Today I will talk about special tax treatments and tax benefits which allow a person who has registered an economic activity in Georgia to pay 1% fixed amount of tax or do not pay a tax at all. Before I continue, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Okay, let's start. There are three modes of special tax treatments for a person granted micro business, small business, and fixed taxpayer status. Let's start with the first one. Micro business status can be granted to a person if annual gross income of the person from this activity during the year does not exceed 30,000 lari. The person has no hired staff and is not VAT payer. A micro business is prohibited from carrying out activities that require license or permission, except taxi services. Accordingly, for the person with this status of micro business, it is prohibited any type of consulting, accounting, notarial, law, legal, architectural services, currency exchange and or gambling business also is prohibited, as well as trading. She or he cannot be a reseller. Accordingly, the status is given to a person which produces or creates something. For example, bakes cakes, makes jewelry, handicrafts, draws paintings or creates some souvenirs, etc. It is also very important that the government of Georgia shall determine the exceptions and list of prohibited activities as well as tax incomes which is not taxed within the special tax regime. According to these exceptions, revenues from the person with micro business status may exceed 30,000 annual gross income and the status remains same. Such kind of activities are household repair, making a wood product, repairing of clothes, watches, etc. What are the advantages of registering micro business status? A person with the status of a micro business does not pay an income tax at all, has no obligation to have a cash register. The status of a micro business in the current fiscal year shall be revoked if the gross income from the activity during the year will exceed 30,000 lari. If the status holder applies to the tax authority for revocation of the status, or as a result of the inspection, tax authority determines that the person has the inventory balance worth more than 45,000 lari. A person with micro business status fills in income tax declaration once a year until the April 1st of the following calendar year. The status of a small business can be granted to a natural person who is already registered as an individual entrepreneur and if the gross income of the person during a year does not exceed 500,000 lari. A small business can have an employee in its organization. It is necessary for a small business to run a business with a cash register. A small business can trade. As you remember, a person with the status of micro business is prohibited from trading, reselling, while a small business can trade, buy and sell product without changing the form of this product. Let me explain what I mean with example. If a person with the status of a small business buys a framed canvas and sells it in irreplaceable form, it is resale. The person bought and sold the same product. Therefore, the person pays a tax for this type of activity and have the status of a small business. But if the person with the status of a micro business draws on this canvas, it retains the status of a micro business and may not pay taxes. Consider another example. If the person with a micro-business status buys a material, leather for example, and sells it, it will be already considered as a commercial activity, and a person loses micro-business status will have to pay taxes by law. But if the person produces leather souvenir and sells it, status remains the same. However, we must remember the gross year must not exceed 30,000 lari. A small business pays a tax of 1% of a gross income, but if the annual turnover of this business exceeds 500,000 lari, then the tax will increase to 3%. In case of hiring an employee, in the first year for registration of a small business, the state offers very good benefits. If the small business hires an employee, small business does not pay income of the salary up to 6,000 lari. As we explained in a previous video, the income tax on salary is 20%. If the small business granted small business status previous year, the person can enjoy the same benefit if the gross income during the previous year did not exceed 50,000 lari. As for revocation of a status, it is possible if the small business applies to the tax authority with a relevant application. The tax authority may also revoke the status if the small business is fined 3 times during a year for non-using a cash register. Also, if for 2 consecutive years income exceeds 500,000 lari. A small business fills in and sends last month's income tax declaration and pays tax up to 15 days of each month. Finally, let's talk about the third form of special tax treatment. It's a fixed taxpayer status. I think this is also a simple form of taxation because the taxpayer pays a fixed amount of tax in a case of specific activities. A fixed taxpayer may be a person who is already registered as an individual entrepreneur, is not a VAT payer, carries out one or more allowed activities for fixed taxpayer. It may be a salarian, salon, bakery, etc. A fixed taxpayer fixed tax may vary depending on activity, which is defined by the government of Georgia. Income and the tax there is a fixed amount paying during a month. For example, for one workplace occupation in a salon, the tax is 50 lari, or as well as for one workplace in a car service is 100 lari, and so on. Fixed taxpayer status is revoked if the person terminates the activity taxable with a fixed tax, applies to the tax authority with a request to revoke the status, carries out activity other than additional activity allowed as a fixed taxpayer, and in a part of additional activities allowed for fixed tax activity has an obligation to register or has voluntarily registered as a VAT payer. Fixed tax is paid on a monthly basis in advance before the reporting month starts. A person who meets the conditions may apply for the tax authority for above mentioned statuses. In order to be granted the status of a micro-business, a natural person applies for the status directly to the tax authority. The tax authority grants status and issues a certificate. However, before register as a fixed taxpayer or being granted by the status of a small business, a person must register as an individual entrepreneur in public service hall and after apply for the status to the tax authority. Tax authority grants a status and issues a certificate. The status enters into force from the next month. That is all for special tax treatments. Hope this topic was interesting and helpful for you. I would like to remind you that in Georgia, business registration takes place just in one day. So, if you are going to register business in Georgia, need more comprehensive consultation, in the description of this video and in comments, I will indicate channel social media pages from where you will be able to contact me and order consultation or registration of business in Georgia. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your interest. See you. Bye.